Peace and cheers, friends. How's it going? Weedy Weekend 93. I'm really looking forward to doing 100, 7 or 8 or 9 weeks from now. I just never know if I can do it every Sunday. It is Sunday, April 9th, and I'm looking forward to this week's one. We didn't have one last week, my friends. Your hurtin' hippie was hurting himself up in Edmonton, but doing a wonderful job at talking with people about this wonderful plant that we talk about. And that's what we're here for. I've got quite a few stories because it's 2 weeks worth, so pitter patter. Let's get at her. First story is out of Israel. This is kind of a neat story. I really think this is really leading edge, and it's something that I have inferred to many times about how the way this has to go is not with big pharma, but in a big pharma way in which real attention is drawn to each and every chemical and what they do and what different mixes do, and the creation of new strains and new mixes and new possibilities to properly treat these diseases that it already treats so well. It treats it really well in its raw form, so well that imagine it when we really get our ingenuity into it. I'm not against that. The medical side of it needs to go that way, and the recreational side can stay the plant and enjoy it, and the shatters and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about shatter, my friends. I'll get to that. This story: in a small pharmaceutical lab in Jerusalem, a complex construction of rubber tubes, pumps, and a brass pipe sits on a worktop. A prototype device. Its purpose is to smoke cannabis to remove its active constituents and turn them into powder, with the hopes that the resulting product can be used for young cancer patients. The ISN lab offers a glimpse of the ambition by Israeli researchers to conquer the rapidly burgeoning new global market in medical marijuana. It's huge, and it's in its infancy. A market, its proponents argue, soon could be worth almost $20 billion annually by 2020 in the U.S. alone. $20 billion in the U.S. alone for medical. And we're just talking the medical market, not the recreational market. So their aim is not to simply take part in a huge market, but to transform the medical marijuana industry into a serious endeavor of pharmaceutical research, producing new strains and drugs able to alleviate the symptoms of cancer, Parkinson's disease, insomnia, and other conditions. I say take it further. We will find within this, mark my words, a cure for most, if not all, that ails us. It's just finding the right mix. Just finding it. Really great story. Peace and cheers. Love that story. I think I have something here. I just got home. It was my youngest grandchild. I have 6. I have 2 granddaughters. One's 18 and this one just turned 1. So we were at her party. Cheers, Everly. Now, the next story, let's move on, is 7 reasons why cannabis will dominate the wellness world in 2017. And I'll just hit on them, but there was a really good part I want to read. Remember when cannabis had a not so healthy image? Think red eyes and munchies. Well, those days are fading fast. And I like these kind of stories that talk away the stigma. As the potent plant's healing powers have started to attract some serious interest from wellness brands in all categories: food, beverage, beauty, and beyond. You could say that this 2017 wellness trend is lit, and it's clear why. Although much more research needs to be done on the health effects of marijuana use, several studies have indicated that extracts from the plant, in particular CBD or cannabidiol, could be a legitimate remedy for mood disorders, inflammation, chronic pain, and more modern ills. And then it goes on. Good story. Good story. It talks about how, one, you no longer have to light up to get lit, how there's so many ways to take cannabis now that I barely ever smoke. Vaping I still enjoy. It's just something that I enjoy, but I'm even moving away from that to mostly edible. Number 2, cannabis tonics are taking over healthy menus. It's really cool story. I'm not going to get into it, but Buzzy LA restaurants are offering it in many different ways in CBD in their stores. Organic grass is stepping right into the sunlight. I'll let you read on because I have a lot of stories to cover, and that was a bit of a fluff story. I bring some that I get rather upset about, so let's move on. This next story is, I had 3 stories on this, and I decided between the 3, this was the one that I was going to present to you. But CBC had already reported it that as of July 1st of 2018, next year, and July 1st is our holiday, our birthday, 151st, I believe, that cannabis will be legal recreationally. Prime Minister Trudeau's party are supposed to announce that tomorrow. So I'm not going to carry much about it. I gotta wait to see what he says, and are they going to actually give us some of the information as to how they're going to regulate and what changes, if any, will they also do to the medical market, because many changes are needed, and I'm going to get to that. These next 3 or 4 stories kind of tie together in a bit of a melody of emotion. I'm happy that they're moving forward, and with them putting a stake in the sand. Remember, stakes fall over in the sand if the wind is strong enough. But at least a stake is there. It kept moving, and it kept being a fluffy date. Now they have a firm date. Let's see if they can stick to it. Next story. The next story, both are from Calgary. First, great story about this remedy ice cream. Challenges the boundaries of law, highlights the need for policy clarity. There is a group here in Calgary making cannabis infused ice cream. I wouldn't get it because I'd eat too much of it. I really would. But this stuff looks good. It sounds good. It's a great story. And I love where the market's going. Why not put your medicine in your food? If it works, it works. And there's always the recreational side. Again, my channel is more the other, but I've lived both lives. I just don't live them both right now. I took that medicine because I've been without all day, and I've been at a birthday party of a 1-year-old. I've been sitting on the floor. I'm going to be having a real long hot bath soon. Anyways, the next story is one that really bothers me. A year ago, I brought you a story from Vancouver Police that they tweeted out that they had to bring back because they had said that there had been deaths caused by Shatter. Now, Calgary, I'll read it to you. It upsets me. Calgary Police are raising concerns about a marijuana derivative drug that is so potent it can cause bouts of psychosis in people who inhale it and result in explosions during the extraction process. Now first, that's just the first paragraph. First, the definition of psychosis, a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that contact is lost with external reality. Really? Also, causing explosions. Shatter doesn't cause explosions. The process, if poorly done and hidden and being done in basements and stuff like that, because the laws have not evolved enough to get people this type of medicine. That's why dispensaries exist too. These things exist because the government hasn't gotten off their ass and realized that people need strong medicine. Shatter is strong medicine. Yes, it can really get you high. And psychosis, no. It's high. It's a high. Are you psychotic when you're on an amphetamine? When you're on morphine at the hospital? No, well, if they overdose you, but you can't overdose on pot. So let's get off that bullshit, Calgary Police. Shame on you. Known as Shatter, the drug can contain up to 90% THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. That compares to about 15 in a plant, the sergeant says. Even at that level of concentration, Shivada says he's not aware of any fatal doses of the drug. Of course not. Although it can overwhelm a person who's not used to such a massive amount of THC and lead to temporary psychosis. This kind of bullshit from our police is... I'm just amazed. I'm amazed in today's world that this is out there. What they need to do, if Calgary Police want to get that stuff off the street and stop it from exploding in garages or people's basements, because I want that and I want it off the street. We need dispensaries where people can go and legally purchase properly cooked marijuana. That's what it is. It is extracted THC to make it safer and better for us to inhale. That's what it is. People are being safer. But because the regulations don't allow for this creation of this, it's hidden. And people hide, people make mistakes, wrong people get cooking it. Once you get regulations, you get people that are going to have to prove that they have the proper equipment before they get a business license to make it, to supply a business called a dispensary. The laws need to change and these things go away. Chasing them down is like chasing a bunch of mice all over the place. You're only going to get a few. Absolutely ridiculous. Story from CBC. And next kind of leads into it in I'm saying that the government has fallen on their ass and not done a correct job about medical and or recreational. Health Canada urged to clear way for medical pot insurance. This is a really good story. I speak to people on a daily basis when I volunteer on this website that I work on to help people find what they're looking for in this area. I often find people saying, this is killing me financially. Because although Health Canada has had medical marijuana as a medicine since the 80s, we have one of the earliest medical programs, they still don't have a product number for the plant. So insurance companies cannot insure against it because it cannot be tracked and blah, blah, blah. In other words, they have not integrated it into their system of other medicine. They call it a medicine, but they hold it over here, and that's where all the other medicine is. And if you're down there and that medicine really hurts you because it hurts your liver, it has bad side effects, causes depression when it fixes depression, all that shit. If you're down there, government's going to help you. Oh, pay a tenth of what you normally would. But go over here and get the natural stuff. They don't help you at all. So this story is about, it is the CBC, and they talked with Natural Health Services, which is my provider. I'll quote this. With the exception of limited coverage for veterans and patients with healthcare spending accounts, the standard insurance of most Canadians still doesn't reimburse the cost of medical cannabis. And I attest to that. Kate Shane, Director of Community Outreach with Calgary-based Natural Health Services, describes it as the missing link, noting Canadians can claim cannabis on their tax returns and travel with it on federal flights. Every patient comes in and is kind of wondering the same thing. Can we be covered? Will we be covered? Said Shane. The problem is there's no drug identifier number, DIN. Health Canada knows that. They've been told it, and they've never rectified it. And the story goes on to say it's a matter of lobbying. We, all of us have to push healthcare representatives to lobby, push our doctors to lobby, ourselves make phone calls, write letters, do what we can. This is when I believe in the people's ability to change government. I don't believe in government. I don't vote. I don't like government, but it exists. It's an animal that's out there that we have to recognize and wrestle sometimes, and sometimes keep calm and sometimes fight it. This is a time we've got to start pushing and pushing for change, because change is coming anyway. It doesn't hurt to get in there on the bottom floor of the change and get it made right. Next story is Cannabis may cure celiac disease. This is an interesting story, one I want to send on to my sister. I think she sometimes watches this because she has a gluten issue, a gluten allergy, whatever you want to call celiac. People who have celiac suffer from autoimmune attacks on their small intestine after eating gluten. That's basically what it is. And gluten is so in the culture of this Western world that sometimes even somebody who tries really hard to stay away from it, they're going to eat it. This goes on to say, for you celiac people, if that happens to you, here's some strains that can help you get through those problems. This is going really well. I had lots of stories, but I'm going really well. So let's stop and have another one, and a cheers to all of you. Thank you for watching. Take the time while we're talking. Just sub. I can always use more people that see me on a regular basis. You don't have to see me on a regular basis, but I have many other shows other than this. Peace and cheers. Now, a quarter of American beer drinkers say they're switching to pot. And this is why we have opposition. This is why we have stories of police saying, oh, Shatter is a dangerous drug and all that. There is a lot of lobbies out there. Hard alcohol lobbies, beer lobbies, pharmaceutical lobbies that are trying really hard to shut down this momentum. And they're not going to be able to, but realize that they're out there. And just like all the fake news that George Soros pays for, I'm sure he's a little bit behind this too, and so are others. It's all over the place. So it's a good story. Again, a fluff story. Just talks about, but what I did notice was the research group surveyed 40,000 people. That's a big, big survey. So a fair amount can be drawn from it. When they survey a couple hundred people on the phone and just in one area, but this was a big survey. So it's a good one to read. I'm not going real into it. Like I said, folks, I'm tired. It's been a long weekend, a beautiful weekend with my son and with my grandchild today, and lots of friends and family and people. But we had a great time. The last one I'm leaving you with is something that we print and hand out to pretty well everybody that we can. We never have enough to hand out at these cannabis conferences. But we print this called Cannabinoids 101, What Makes Cannabis Medicine. This, my dear friends, please take the time to read. Take the time to look at it. This is the basis of understanding. Some of you I know out there know that it works for you, but don't know why. This is a really good basic understanding that most of the rest of the stories, and when some of the bigger words come out, that because it is all chemical, it's all chemicals. Took me a long time to learn them all, and I don't know if I say them all right. And I don't know them all. There's 130 chemicals inside the plant, between 85 and 130, but there's a lot of chemicals, and I don't know them all. I don't. But this is a great story. It's a great place to start, and it's the end of Weedy Weekend. I'm surprised that went really quick. I thought it would go. I killed two stories, like I said, because they were similar. Talking about Canada bringing it on our birthday next year. If it works, great. I am hoping for you, recreational market, that it's a good one, that it's a fair one, doesn't impede on us too terribly, but it will. It's going to be so full of regulation, but hopefully then from that point we can move forward in revising regulation and getting it to be more fair and better access. Peace and cheers, my friends. See somebody without a smile today, give them one of yours, give them one of mine, share this with them. I don't know, maybe that'll make them smile, or share whatever you can. Peace and cheers, love and harmony.